that go. So, okay, this is Teach the Children, and this is episode 43. And what I promised, the last episode I made, I was going to put a cap on the Passover in episode 43. So, what I'm going to do today is cap off the Passover so I can move on and teach something else. Now, I'm going to have to come back every once in a while and pick up some of these scriptures because I'm not going to get everything in today that I need in. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to get half of it in because there's too many scriptures to put a cap on the Passover, because this Passover is the most important thing that a person need to teach their kids, and you too if you don't know it. If you don't perfectly understand this Passover, when you teach your kids, you won't be telling them the truth. And if you teach them something false, it'll keep going on from generation to generation. And that's what's happening to a lot of people right now. For some reason or another, out of all of these people that's got these phonostatic minds and these Bible writers and the people that write all of these holy books supposedly, they're not telling people the truth exactly about this Passover. You see, God created this Passover because peoples, and especially these kings and things, was not obeying God's voice. They were doing what they wanted to do and not what God said for them to do in commandments. So what I better do right now, I'd better back up and start like I should start. To see, I'm so excited until I'll get too far gone before I think about the first thing is first. And the first thing is first about these episodes is every last one of them is designed for parents to teach their kids, or whoever the teacher is to teach their kids. And anyone that don't understand the Bible scriptures, it can teach them also. Because if you ain't telling the truth and ain't teaching the truth, you messing up a whole lot of people. And I hear it every day of the week. People are not teaching people the truth. How do they figure they're going to get to heaven when they die? Okay, first thing is first, and here we go. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's exactly what we're fixing to do today, and I want everyone listening to me to have heard to everything I'm saying. Deuteronomy 6 and verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. That's what you're supposed to talk about, the thing that God has done for you, and the thing that God will do for you. It is mandatory that you understand what God said. As a matter of fact, you need to understand every word of it. Every word that came out of the mouth of God, everybody need to know them. And it would pay you to read your book and teach your children the proper thing. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is the Passover. That's what we're fixing to talk. Let me read you something from Luke 22 and 14. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. Now, what happening is right here, he said that when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. Now, let me back up a little bit and have you to understand exactly what they're talking about right here. Jesus sat down and the 12 apostles with him. Now, Jesus had been teaching them apostles a whole lot of things about what he's talking about at that. We're going to call it the Last Supper because that was the last Passover meal that he ate before he died. Now, because people don't understand, I've got a homemade calendar here that I made from the book of Exodus, and everyone can see it. God ordered, let me back up here and read you all. We're gonna stop right there where where Christ had sat down and the 12 apostles with him. Now, a whole lot of things that took place before they sat down there. And that's what I want to teach you. You see, let me start right here in the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter and the first verse. Everyone take note and keep a copy of this as a record forever, always. And teach it to your kids exactly now that it's written in the book of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter and the 7th verse and the verses thereafter. Exodus 12:1. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying. Now listen. The reason God spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, because the people that he claimed to put his name on was down there in Egypt, and they were under bondage, and he didn't want them under bondage. He wanted them out of Egypt, out of bondage. And those kings and all of those leaders back in them days, they thought they didn't have to listen to God. Sure, God had told them let them people go, and they refused to let them go. And when they kept on refusing to let them go, Exodus 12:1, and the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year unto you. Now understand something, people. God is the one that said this, and Moses wrote it. Now there are some things that God wrote in some stones himself, and it very well may have included this. This month shall be unto you. I'm going to repeat it. I have repeated in the past, and I'm going to repeat it again, because the reason I repeat so many the same scripture over and over and over is because I don't want you to forget. This is important. What I want people to do is get to heaven when they die. And what's going on with the world today and all of these people on the face of the earth, and ain't nobody preaching the truth to them, how do they figure they're going to get to heaven? Look like somebody have enough sense to do it exactly like Jesus said it. Well, they ain't doing it. Now, if you think they are, read the book of Matthew, the 28th chapter, verse 18, 19, and 20 from the New Living Version, if you will, please. Now back to Exodus, what I want to start this off with. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year unto you. Now God's chosen people, and the people that he's got his name on, is supposed to be following God and God only. This is the first day of the month. This is the first month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year unto you. Speak ye to all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month ye shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their father, a lamb for a man. Now, every man of every family has a job to do. God ordered every man to take him a lamb. Now this is God doing it. I'm not going to read all of these scriptures because time won't permit time won't permit it. But what I'm going to point out to you is, in a few minutes, this Passover that God is ordering ready. Let me go ahead and read a little bit more of it. Verse 5, your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out of the sheep or out of the goats. Now that's a very important scripture. That's verse 5. Now listen to this, verse 6 now. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening time. Now listen, I'm going to read it to you in the New Testament in a few minutes. Everybody's supposed to do the same thing. God said, put it up on the 10th day and keep it until the 14th day, and everybody together supposed to kill it on the 14th day. Listen to this now. And they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorpost of the house, wherein they shall eat it. Now listen, God is ordering them to take them up a sheep or a goat on the 10th day, keep it until the 14th day, and kill it in the evening time. Now listen, Jesus and them was keeping that same feast, that same Passover, because God ordered it. I'm going to read you them scriptures. God ordered people to keep it as an audience forever. And how did people get so wrong? Right now they're changing Easter. Every year it comes on a different date. According to what God said, you can't change just God's chosen people now. Everybody else on the face of the earth can do anything they want to do, just like these people is doing nowadays. They ain't doing what God said. They're doing what they want to do or what they are taught to do. We don't know why they are doing it. One thing we do know, they are doing it. And they're teaching people that Christ died on a Friday. And that statement is false. And I have 100% proof right here. Hope I don't run out of time before I get around to it. He said, put the blood on both sides of the door and across the top. And they shall eat the flesh in that night. Listen, he said, verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, unleavened bread, and bitter herbs. Now he's telling us what to eat. And he means what he said. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, just wait a minute here. Verse 11, and thus you shall eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. Now listen, all of it, let me go ahead just for a little bit. And the blood shall be unto you for a token. This is the most important part. This is the purpose of the Passover anyway. And that's what it represents. Verse 13, Exodus 12 and verse 13, if you will. And this day, no, verse 13, and the blood shall be unto you for a token upon the house where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I smash the land of Egypt. Now, God is saying in this 13th verse, if you don't put that blood on your doorpost, then it is the man's responsibility to put it on there. If you put that blood on that door, when that death angel comes through the land, it'll pass over you. Now, will I get it in on this or not, I'm going to get the New Testament part of it over to you also. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip down to the 18th verse, Exodus 12 and 18, because of time. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at eve, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at eve. What Jesus is saying now, he gave a commandment that we're supposed to eat unleavened bread 7 days. We're supposed to eat it 7 days. And we can't, there's no way we can get out of doing exactly what God said. Now, we're going to get back to the New Testament because of time. And because what I want y'all to understand is, from Exodus 12 and 1, and the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of the month. It shall be the first month of the year unto you. Now, all of this stuff I'm reading to you, all this stuff I'm reading to you, people passing by making up too much racket. Is because all of this reading that we are reading, this is what he said in verse 12. I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both men and beasts, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the house where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smash Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generation. You shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. You see, that's why Jesus numbers, because Jesus' mamas and daddy, his mother and his father, on this earth when he was here, they went up to that feast every year. Nothing changed about that feast from Exodus 12 and 1 through this present day. Now, peoples have changed it, and I announced here a short while ago that Christ rose on a Saturday before the sun went down. Now, what I should have said, Saturday's okay, because Saturday is a Sabbath day. Understand what I'm saying? Saturday is a Sabbath day. This Passover was supposed to be held 7 days. And the onlyest thing that anyone was allowed to do within them 7 days was prepare what they're going to eat. Now, the reason people don't understand this is because of what I just said, is to prepare. Well, you can call it prepare, or you can call it preparation. You see, from Exodus 12 and 1, let me read verse 16 to you. From Exodus 12 and 1, Exodus 12 and 16. Listen to this real good. Make note. And the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only he may do. Now, when Jesus was here, I'm fixing to read it to you. I'm going to stop with this, and I'm going to take it up right there when Jesus was here and when he was walking this earth, because that's the most important part of it. And Let me see here now. We're fixing to start right now. We're fixing to start with it right now. You see what's happening with Jesus' part of it is there had to be a preparation too. Now all of this Exodus started at the Exodus 12 and 1. All of that on all of that before 12 o'clock that night. All of that stuff took place before 12 o'clock. Now, I ain't going to get into that right now. What I'm going to do is get over to the New Testament, because this is what affects us, is the New Testament. On the first day of unleavened bread, now listen to this real good now. Really take note, really take an understanding, and rehearse it and teach it to everybody come by. Talk about it, discuss it. And if you know a Bible scholar, or a priest or a bishop or somebody that think they know the Bible, have them to explain it to you. Because as of yet, ain't nobody telling it right. In the scripture that I'm going to read to you, ain't nobody telling it right. And I don't know how come. You can't get to heaven if you don't tell the truth. Okay. In the first day of unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover, his disciples said unto him, Where wilt thou that we go and prepare that thou mayest eat the Passover? Now listen, they had to take a lamb or a goat on the 10th day of the month and keep it until the 14th day of the month. Now they had already met all those requirements. And they had already killed the sheep or the goat, whichever one they kept. And they're asking Jesus, what do you want us to go and prepare? Are you going to eat all of this stuff we done prepared? That's the question they was asking Jesus, where was they going to go and eat it? Now, that's where Luke 22:14 come in. It's right there. Luke 22:14. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, with desire, I have desire to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. Now listen, we're talking about the same Passover here as we are talking about in the 12th chapter of the book of Exodus. Identically the same. It's being held in the same thing. And I already showed you that little calendar that I made with my hand, and I want y'all to see it. The first day of the year unto God's chosen people, and that was on a Sunday. The first day of the year to God's chosen people was on a Sunday, and he told everybody to take a lamb on the 10th day. Now, you put it up and you fatten it up until the 14th day, and at eve you kill it and you eat it. And that's where we talking about in Jesus' day. The days of the month hadn't changed. Nothing has changed. People are not understanding, for some reason, Ben Brooks don't know why. I've asked a lot of questions back down the line about this. Can't nobody answer it. Now I'm running out of time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it real short right now. All of this happened on the 14th day. They killed, Christ ate the Passover on the 14th day after the sun went down. And after they ate, they crucified him and they killed him. They didn't kill him, they beat him up, and they done everything to him and they hung him on the cross. And what happened right here is, because of what they done, they ate the supper and all of that. Now listen, and in John 13:2, I'm going to get down to that. Supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him. And this is what happened. They on the same day now, which was the day of, it was the preparation. That same day that he was, the first day was the preparation. Every one of them Sabbath days, 7 of them, had a preparation before the day came on, because the day started at sundown. The preparation was in the daytime. The feast and all of them meals and things they were doing were after the sun went down. But every day from sun up to sundown was preparation day. That's what I want everybody to understand. It was preparation. The Jews therefore, John 19:31, the Jews therefore, because it was the preparation, that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs should be broken. Okay, that Sabbath now, the Jews therefore, because it was the preparation, you understand what I said? It was the preparation. Now, this was after he had ate the Passover meal, and that night they had all crucified him, made all false claims, and they hanged him on the cross the next day before the sun went down. For the Sabbath was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken. Okay. Then went on to Pilate. Let me get around to this right here now. Luke 23:52 through 56. The men went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus, and took it down and wrapped it in linen, and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewed in a stone, wherein never a man laid. And that day was the preparation. You see, this is what I want to get around to. I want y'all to understand the mess up and the foul up in this Passover and Easter and all that different kind of stuff is right here in Luke 22 and Luke 23 and 54. Luke 23:54. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. You see, people ain't understanding that. I'm going to have to quit. This is going to put a cap on this Passover. But that day was the preparation, the daytime, which was the 15th day of the first month, is what it was referring to. The 15th day of the first month, according to the 12th chapter of Acts. And the woman also which came down with him from Galilee followed after him, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. Now listen to this, it's real important. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Understand something now. John 19:56. Read it for yourself and reread it, run all the reference you have on it. You will learn. And they returned. They was out there where he was buried at. They seen him bury him. They knew exactly where he was. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandments. Now listen, I already showed you. Jesus ate the Last Supper on the 14th day, which was a Saturday. On Sunday, the 15th day of the first month, was the day that we are talking about right here. It was the 15th day. Now, they killed Christ on the 15th day before the sun went down. Now listen, he was in the earth 3 days and 3 nights. He was on the ground the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And he rose on the 18th before the sun went down, which was a Sabbath day. That's why I said he rose on a Saturday before the sun went down. I could have just as easily said he rose on the Sabbath day. It ain't no different on a Sabbath day. Nobody's allowed to work except from verse 12, 16, except for that which ye may prepare the food, or the preparation. You see, before Christ was hung on the cross, that 15th day, that same 15th day was the preparation for the service that was going to be held after the sun went down. They done all of their preparation in the daytime, and all of their services was held at night. Now I'm going to quit right there, and this is the end on the cap, because you understand now that Jesus died on the 15th day of the first month at Eve. And he was on the ground the 16th night, the 17th night, and the 18th night. And he rose on the 18th before the sun went down. And those women went back that followed him out there when they seen where they buried him. They went back and prepared spices and all of that different stuff to put on his body. And they rested on the Sabbath day. Now, the Sabbath days was 19, 20, and 21. You see, God said it had to last 7 days. Now, what God ordered in Exodus 12 lasted 21 days. And nobody can change it. Nobody should even try to change it. Now, I'll take a look at this video myself, this episode 43. I'll look at it myself, and if there's something I need to correct, I will, because I had over 100 sheets of paper that needed to be talked about today, and I can't talk about that much because my time has already expired. I'm going too long, and I can't get all of this on these episodes on this station that I'm doing. So right now is the end of it, and I'll get you on another episode at another time. And remember, teach your children the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.